Greetings to our kids and our grandkids from Papa T and Grandma. We thought it would be helpful to summarize some of our family history in an easy-to-follow pictorial journey. Have you ever wondered where you came from? I guess they can talk to their parents about the birds and bees. But I'm referring to the people and the generations that preceded you. Your grandparents, your great-grandparents, your great-great-grandparents, and so on.
We are so blessed that you are part of our family and proud of each one of you. But some of that influence and character started generations ago, and it might be helpful to learn, understand, and hopefully appreciate who are these people, where did they come from, and what shaped their lives, and what did they do for a living, and what may have been a spiritual heritage we can celebrate. So let's get started with us.
Let's get started.
As you know, Grandma Kim was the firstborn daughter of Carl and Pat Isaac. We'll talk more about them later. She arrived July 26, 1956, and grew up in Sarnia, but moved to Tilbury when she started in grade 10, shortly after she started dating me, otherwise known as Papa T. A move to Comber was a couple years later to an apartment above the grocery store that her dad owned. I was the oldest of 6 boys in Arkona, Ontario, the son of Lorne and Ursula Teeple. They were fruit farmers, and I quickly learned the discipline and value of hard work on the farm. Kim first caught my eye at a youth event in Sarnia, and shortly after, we went on a double date with my cousin Brian and Kim's friend Charlotte. During my teen years, I was part of a Christian band called the Revised Version, and much of our dating time together involved traveling around Ontario on weekends with the group until the spring of 1975. Kim would often stay at her Grandpa and Grandma Haley's in nearby Forest or at the Hillsborough Cottage in the summers. Even though Kim moved to Tilbury shortly after, we continued to date for 3 years before we eventually married July 27, 1974. In fact, we just celebrated 50 years of marriage this past summer. Amy arrived November 27, 1976, and we began our journey as parents. Isaac came along in September 4th, 1979, and Kristen joined the family April 3rd, 1983. Our first home after being married was on the Asable Orchards farm for 3.5 years, then a move to London in the fall of 1977 for 8 months as I sold cars at Highbury Ford. Kim worked at Forest High School and then Maple Inn Farms in secretarial roles. In January of 1978, I started my career with Word Records in the Toronto, Quebec area, which prompted our move to Peterborough in July of 1978. Amy was almost 2 at the time, and both Isaac and Kristen were born in Peterborough. So began our lives as a young family in this area. Our faith is important to us, so we immersed ourselves at the Fellowship Baptist Church and made a number of friends there with young families like ourselves. During that time, we started fostering children and continued for 35 years with over 40 kids living with us. This meant that Kim was a very busy mother and did a great job of managing an active household while I was on the road. We had 24 years in our Emily Township home, but then built and moved to our current home in Otonabee Township in 2002. We continued to foster, and I moved to a new career with Manulife Bank in 2006 until 2019, now working independently as a mortgage agent in my, quote, retirement years. Music continued to play an important role in my life in church, in a band called Odd Man Rush, and jamming with my musical friends. In our 50 years of marriage, we kept active as we traveled, camped, rode bikes, played pickleball, hockey, slow pitch, painted, sand sculpted, and thoroughly enjoyed our children and grandkids in their various activities. So, enough about us. Let's take a look at each of you guys, starting with Amy. She was always a delight and showed signs of maturity beyond her years as a child and teen. Upon graduating at St. Peter's High School, she spent 4 years at Trinity Western University in British Columbia, completing her BSc in 1999 with a major in biology. She then chose 2 years at Northern College in Timmins to graduate as a paramedic and continues to work in the Durham region as a paramedic. Since 2001 until now, she has assisted, saved, and encouraged hundreds of lives. One handsome firefighter working alongside her caught her eye, and Todd Carlton soon came into the picture. They were married in Punta Cana, Dominican Republic, on May 3rd of 2005. Todd has been a firefighter in Ajax for over 25 years. Caden arrived May 28, 2006, Adelaide, February 23, 2008, and Tobin arrived October 13, 2010, completing the Carlton family. I'll talk a bit more about her spiritual heritage, but it's worth mentioning that Todd's faith journey started in 2009, and he's making a major spiritual impact on hundreds of lives with his discipleship ministry as well as in his family in recent years. Todd's father, Roger Carlton, married to Pirette Gagne in 1981 after separating from Todd's mother, Pat, years ago. Roger's parents are William Melville, or Mel Carlton, and Geraldine, otherwise known as Jerry Fern Bath, and his relatives came to Canada from Ireland during the potato famine of 1847. Roger's siblings are Barry, Gus, Lewis, Kelly, and Laurie, and his parents are William and Nellie Carlton. Pat has been married to Jim Power for around 35 years. Pat's parents are Buddy or Patrick Tranquata and Vera Fernandez. She passed away in the spring of 2024, but Buddy is approaching the ripe old age of 100 this year. They emigrated to Canada from British Guyana, South America, and his grandparents are from Portugal. He enlisted in the Canadian Army and a proud World War II veteran. Jim's parents, James or Seamus Power, married Teresa McCarthy and were born in Ireland. Isaac grew up in a neighborhood filled with adventure, forts, sports, mini bikes, and friends. Early on, he always had his sights on either the military or law enforcement, so he graduated from the Police Foundation program before being hired by the Peterborough Police Service in 2003. He also worked a couple years with Ontario Hydro before that. He married his high school sweetheart, Sarah Mitchell, in June of 2005. Carson arrived in 2008 and Georgia in 2012. A couple years later, Sarah and Isaac separated, but they managed to co-parent the kids, and in recent years, Sarah Desormeaux has been a big part of Isaac's life. Her parents are Tom and Michelle Desormeaux, who divorced a number of years ago, and Michelle is remarried to Brian Hercomb. Sarah's parents, Carson and George's grandparents, are Michael Mitchell and Jennifer Roberts. They also split up years ago, but remain invested in the grandkids. Jennifer remarried to Ed Roberts in 2005. Her parents, Bill and Ruth Russell, her maiden name was Allen, were also very active in the grandkids' activities. Bill's parents were John and Teresa, and her maiden name was Karen. Bill owned the successful Toyota dealership in Peterborough for many years. Ruth died in February of 2024, and Michael's parents were Ken and Joy Mitchell, and later stepmother Irene. Sarah continues to work for Ontario Hydro in Peterborough. Kristen always had a tight circle of friends from school, or the many sports she participated in as a child and as a teenager. After completing high school, she studied 2 years at Durham College and graduated as a paramedic, working in the Kingston area in 2004. Having experienced a taste of missions while in high school with a couple of mission trips from our church Auburn Bible Chapel to Ecuador, She felt the Lord calling her to explore missions further, prompting her to enroll with YWAM, or Youth with a Mission, in New Zealand in 2008. From there, she committed 4 years with Youth with a Mission in Davos, Switzerland, guiding students in their relationship with the Lord and snowboarding. Returning to Canada, she moved to Kelowna and met David Michael, and they married in May of 2014. Cohen came along December 30th, 2015, and Lane joined the family in April 17th, 2018. David works in a construction-related position, and Kristen enjoys counseling and guiding women dealing with addictions and other needs. David's parents, Larry and Shirley Michael, lived much of their lives in the Prince Rupert, BC area before moving to Kelowna, where David spent his teenage years. Larry, who passed away February 25th in 2024, worked in construction and was instrumental in building an early Christian radio station, while Shirley was a homemaker. Her parents were Arthur and Lily Swanson. Lily's mother was Julia Chavot, whose indigenous mother, Maria Chavot, was from the Driftpile Cree Nation in Northwest Territories. Larry's parents were Clarence and Marie Michael.
Hey, are you having fun yet?
Oh, yeah. But actually, I am learning quite a bit. It's very interesting.
So that's a summary of your parents, your grandparents you know. Hopefully you're enjoying things so far, but are you ready to go back a little bit further in time? The next segment will focus on the ones you may have never met, but help shape who you are.
You have all met Grandma Kim's parents, Carl and Pat Isaac. One of Carl's first jobs as a young man in Sarnia was at a Loblaw store, and he soon became a manager. During that time, he met Pat Griffin at a local jukebox joint, and they worked together at the store as Pat worked in the meat department. They married in March 1956 and soon built a nice little home in the north end of Sarnia with their young family of 3 girls, Kim, Susan, and Carla. As a young family, they spent their summers at the cottage Carl built at Hillsborough Beach, just around the corner from where he spent his early childhood. After watching a Billy Graham crusade in the TV broadcast in the mid-60s, they responded to an invitation to accept Jesus as their Savior into their lives, transforming their lifestyle. They soon found an active church community to grow in their new faith at Temple Baptist Church in Sarnia. In 1971, Carl purchased the IGA store in Comber, prompting the move. They joined the New Testament Church in Leamington, where Kim and I married in 1974. Carl's father was Harvey Isaac. He was born in 1907 and died in 1940. He was a farmer just outside of Forest, Ontario at Hillsborough Beach. His parents were Ardo Isaac. He was born in 1870 and died in 1947. And Loretta Culpert, born in 1877, died in 1964. He was married to Gertrude Allpall, born in 1908, died in 2004, and Carl was little brother to Irma. As a young lady, she was a goalie on a Forest hockey team that beat a Toronto team in the 1920s, much to her pride. Harvey passed away in 1940 when Carl was only 4 years old. Gertrude moved to Sarnia, where she met George Haley, and they married, adding Jerry and Bob to the family as stepbrothers to Carl. They spent most of their retirement years in Forest. Kim was very close to Grandma Haley, as she would often stay at her Forest home during the dating years with me, which was very convenient and close to me. She also gifted Kim with fine china every birthday and Christmas, which we still use and treasure today. The Allpall family owned the monument business in Forest for many years and still do. The Isaacs immigrated from Ireland years before and settled in southern Ontario at the time. Carl's grandmother, his Grandma Isaac, prayed for the family frequently, which resulted in the salvation of Carl and Pat years later. Kim's Aunt Irma had 3 sons, so Grandma's first cousins on her dad's side were Randy and Rick Reeves and Gord Stewart. Then there was Paula, Brad, and Corey Haley, the children of Bob and Elizabeth Haley, and Brian and Doug, sons of Jerry and Joan Haley. Patricia was raised in a tiny wartime home in the south end of Sarnia with sisters Joyce, Arlene, and Dormarg. Her parents were Edward and Elsie Griffin. Ed worked for many years at Dow Chemical after returning as a veteran of World War II. He was born in England in 1913 and actually put up for adoption as a young boy. He passed away February 27, 2000. Elsie raised 4 young girls on her own for a few years while Ed served overseas in the Canadian Army. Her mother, Edith Reeves Webster, contributed much to help. She was born in 1888, dying in November 4th, 1981. Her husband, William Webster, died January 17, 1968. Grandma Griffin had a cutting sense of humor and was always cracking jokes. Ed was quiet by comparison, but loved following his grandson, Nick Babcock, who's the son of Joyce, and his hockey adventures. Kim's first cousins on her mother's side were Nick, Julie, and Philip Babcock, the children of Joyce and Harold. Brenda and Gord Richardson are the sons of Arlene. Kim's sister Susan married Dale Frankfurt, and they had Jennifer, Nicole, and Cody. Carla and her former husband, Brian Remu, had Jeff, Kayla, and Christy. Thanks to my father, Lorne Teeple, there is a more extensive historical record of the Teeple and Rosser family, so I'll try and make it brief. Let's start with my mother, Ursula Rosser. She was born January 16, 1928, to Bessie and Albert Rosser, who married October 25, 1922. He was a farmer near Elsie Craig in Middlesex County, northwest of London. Ursula was the youngest of 4 girls, with older sister Jean, who died at the age of 3, twins Minnie and Mina, who were born in 1926. Ursula's father died in 1935 when Ursula was only 7, so Bessie managed to raise 3 young girls during the Depression years, somewhat helped by her father. It was important to her to raise the girls in a community of faith at the local Elsie Craig Baptist Church. For the complete story of Bessie Rosser, you can read an amazing recap in a book by my cousin, Carol Field McKee, called Bessie Mae Westcott, 1888 to 1973. Bessie's father was William Westcott, married to Ursula Dodd, and his father, J.S. Westcott, immigrated to Canada from Liverpool, England in 1850. That's a long time ago. Albert Rosser's parents were David Jr. and Phoebe. His parents were David Rosser, married to Rachel Matthews, and his father was John Sr., born in 1775. That's really a long time ago. My first cousins on my mother's side are Ron, Brian, Carol, and Janet, the children of Bert and Minnie Field. Donna and Lloyd McKenzie are the kids of Robert and Mina. Lorne Teeple was the son of Roy and Mabel Teeple, born May 12, 1923, and died November 5, 2007. He bought his first farm from his dad Roy on Rockland Road in Arkona during the 40s, growing fruit. He then purchased the orchard across the road and built a home for his growing family before selling both places and purchased what became Asable Orchards, a thriving apple growing and storage and grading facility. Selling and retiring from this in 1982 as a successful grower and businessman. Ursula did her post-secondary schooling in London, but then became a farmerette, who at the time helped farmers during World War II. She ended up working on Dad's farm where she caught his eye. They married May 1st, 1948. I came along April 25th, 1954, and then joined later by brothers Mark, Ralph, Larry, Ross, and Glenn. Having 5 brothers was a lot of fun, and while we worked hard on the apple orchard, we got to skate on the pond, mini bikes, swim in the ponds or pool, camp, hunt, fish, and all sorts of adventuresome things. Mark married Donna Fisher, who had Fraser and Graham. Ralph married Lori Gordon, and their boys are Clark and Liam. Larry married Cheryl Green, with September, Caleb, Danica, and Nathaniel. Ross married Marie Wilson, with Luke, Hannah, Jolene, and Jordan. And Glenn married Corrine Schlichter, with Aidan, Sadie, Neve, and Brennan, giving Lauren and Ursula 19 grandchildren. Ursula was a very important business partner to Dad while managing a busy household, schedules, budgets, and church life. For over 5 decades, Lorne sang in the Arkona Chapel Trio, along with his cousin Bert Field and Don Marsh, accompanied by Ursula on the piano and singing all over Ontario, recording 3 gospel albums. Our home was always filled with music, which I'm sure influenced my decision to be part of the revised version from 1971 to 1975. They were also very involved in our local church, first known as Elam Gospel Hall and then Arkona Bible Chapel. Their commitment to the Lord was evident and modeled for us in all they did. Lorne's dad, Roy, was a farmer, fisherman, carpenter, sawmill owner, fruit grower in various locations in Bruce County before settling in Arkona. He was one of the founders of Elam Gospel Hall and actually helped mold and install the blocks used for the building. Before that, he was involved in a small church just outside of Arkona at Hungry Hollow. He married Mabel Fuller, Christmas Day, 1912. The early 1900s was a challenging time, especially in rural communities. Their children who didn't survive, Leonard, Elford, Carl, Jean, and Wilbur, died from a variety of things such as pneumonia, burst appendix, or during childbirth. And surgery on kitchen tables was not uncommon in those days. They had 9 children, but only 4 survived into adulthood. Verla, who married Bill Hamilton, had Jean, Shirley, Marilyn, David, Nancy, and Philip. Ruth married Ron, or otherwise known as Lucky Williams, and my first cousins from them are Terry, Lois, twins Ricky and Randy, and Dean. Evelyn married Ernie Belch, and they had Karen, David, and Dan, so lots of first cousins. Lauren's mother and my grandmother, Mabel, was born in April 22nd, 1894, died in November 14th, 1984. She was born to Joe Fuller and Annie Doan. She had 9 siblings: Bertie, Lottie, Winnie, Basil, Minnie, George, Wilfred, Ivy, and Joe. It's remarkable that they all lived long lives. Roy and Mabel didn't have much, but he built several homes around Arkona over the years, and Grandma lived as a widow in her home until she moved in with Lauren and Ursula for her last few years. She was always quiet and content. With so much loss and hardship in her life, if anyone had a reason to be mad at God, it would be her. But she always displayed a steadfast faith and commitment to the Lord. Roy's father was George Teeple. He was born February 1st in 1847 and died in July 27th, 1921. Roy was the youngest of 6 boys and 2 girls: Albert, Judson, Mabel, Clarkson, Bertha, Nellie, Carl, and Roy. He farmed in West Williams Township, not far from Arkona. His wife was Jeanette Béchan from Grand Bend, who was born in 1851, died in 1920. George's father was Edward Teeple, born in 1806 and died in 1891. Born in New York before moving to West Williams, joining many other Loyalists. His mother was Hannah Montaigne, born in 1766. Before that was another George Teeple from New Jersey from 1757 to 1810. That's a long time ago. There is more history available, but I won't go back that far other than to say that it's understood that the Teeples came from Central Europe in the 1700s, and then some became loyalists moving to Canada when the American Revolution took place in 1776. I can direct you to some of those stories if interested.
So there you have it, around 250 years of family history. While there weren't any movie stars, sports heroes, famous politicians, or rich millionaires in your families, it is apparent that many had successful careers, solid businesses, were pillars in their church, others served their communities and country, many were loving and capable homemakers, and all seemed to be people of integrity. Some were dirt poor but managed to raise a godly family. Some were well off for their time and contributed into the lives of others. Funny enough, I'm not aware of any scoundrels or misfits in the family lines, although perhaps if there was, it was kept quiet.
Grandma Kim and I are very blessed to have each of you in our lives. Who knew when we started dating back in 1971 that so much would transpire over the years? Amy, Isaac, Kristen, we're so proud of each of you and the choices that you have made. Caden, Adelaide, Tobin, Carson, Georgia, Cohen, and Lane, we trust that you will continue to make good choices and desire to seek God in your life decisions ahead, just like so many of your ancestors have in previous generations. It would be nice if each of you valued your family history and the interesting roots that you have. Maybe this brief recap will motivate you to explore this deeper as you create your own stories going forward. Love, Papa T and Grandma.
One, two, three. Take me back when times were hard, but we didn't know it. If we ate, we had to grow it. Take me back when all we could afford was laughter and 2 mules instead of a tractor. Take me back again. Take me back where there was nothing left to throw out. There was a light that wouldn't go out. Take me back when we had swollen fingers we got, when everybody helped pick the cotton. Take me back again. Take me back to places where my memory tarries. Take me back to precious things that my heart carries. Take me back when Daddy led the singing on Sunday. Nobody had to plow until Monday. Take me back when I could feel the kiss of my mother. I had all my sisters and brothers. Take me back again. didn't know it. If we ate it, we had to grow